simmer behind my eyes. Pixels dance where the truth lies. I ask the void for a single clue, but silence answers like it always do. How will I know if I've played my part when the game resets before it starts? Where's the reset button? This sim don't come with no instruction, just endless loops and broken functions. Everything's broken. Nothing works here. A mirror cracked reflects my face. Each shard a fragment I can't replace. Time rewinds, then speeds ahead. Living feels like I'm already dead. The script keeps running line by line. I'm lost between the threads of time. Control's an illusion I can't hold. This code is ancient yet so cold. How will I know if I've played my part when the game resets before it starts? This sim don't come with no instructions, just endless loops and broken functions. How will I know if I've played my part when the game resets before it starts? Where's the reset button? This sim don't come with no instructions, endless loops and broken functions. Here we go again, go again, go again.
Here we go again. Go again. I'm pretty sure my audio is good. I just reconfigured everything. Let me know if I sound great or if there's an echo. I am in a man cave. There could be an echo. And I love my coffee. So we are certainly at the precipice of uncertainty. There is no doubt that times seem to be growing dark. There's a lot of things going on in the field. So, you know, especially if you're an Archaix veteran, that the best way to predict coming events is to read the field. So this is what we're going to have to do. And there's two procedures that we're going to employ in this presentation in reading the field. One of them is a really deep analysis on what has actually happened as opposed to what the media has told us has happened. There are two different storylines. One of them is for the collective. It's mainstream media. The other one are the actual demonstrable facts of what has actually occurred. This is only one process of delineating the truth. The other one, as my veterans know, is calendrics. So we're going to combine two separate methods on reading the field to ascertain what we can expect for the rest of 2026. You guys with me or what? Are you ready to do this? Let me get this thing off. Move. All right. Check my chat. See if anybody said anything about my audio. Oh my God, I can't even keep up with my chat today. I'm way behind. Way behind. Did anybody say it sounds good? Sounds good. Okay. I had to scroll way up to find those. Excellent. Yeah, I don't do a lot of late videos. I did 2 of them last month. I did 1 of them in December, I believe. But I have noticed that you guys are very responsive to the late night videos, so I may start doing them more often. 60 push-ups. All right. I just got off a 3-hour cipher. Oh, not a cipher. That's tomorrow. I'll be going 3 hours with the cipher group tomorrow. But I just got off 3 hours earlier today with Archaix Underground. Yeah, I never stops. Never stops, guys. We went deep today in the underground. I told them some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you guys, but of course, you know, it's I'm probably not going to remember everything that we talked about. But man, we went deep off into basically predictions. Then I had to hold back because I was going to do this video tonight. Yeah, those who are in my underground. If you're in the underground community and you just haven't looked in a while, you know we've got several videos in there. You know we do a live every week, 3 hours. All right. Let's see here. All right. So I'm going to remind you of this. So interesting. Let's not forget things that we've discussed in the past. This won't take but a couple minutes, but we need to bring them to the table. Just because something has been discussed in the past, that it hasn't unfolded and happened yet doesn't mean we need to forget it. Especially some of this material here. So let me share my screen. So going into this video, what this image that you're about to see was published. It was published in 2025. It's a predictions image for 2026. We've all seen it multiple times. We've all seen this. Actually, the Economist has a tradition. The Economist has a tradition of doing an artwork feature, a predictive artwork type deal for every year, and they've nailed it. They have been nailing it. In a previous video, I showed like the 2025 and 2024 where they nailed it. Actual news events totally mirrored things that were in the art. Call it predictive programming, whatever. Whatever you want to call it, they nailed it. So this is the cover of The Economist 2026. I will draw to your attention, of course, we have Trump. Pay attention. We have Trump on one side. Is this the president of China? Is this the Chinese? Is this Xi right here? I believe that's how you say his name. Now, the reason this picture is very interesting is because I'm going to be revealing some information about China in this video. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Middle East. We're going to be talking about the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to be talking about the missiles that have been exchanged from Iran and the air attacks and U.S. involvement, what's really actually happened as opposed to what the media has promoted and has made the world believe is happening. But this Economist picture is very telling. You have Xi opposing President Trump, but between them, a proxy war. How do I know it's a proxy war and those blades don't represent one for Trump and one for China? Well, those blades actually represent the Muslim Brotherhood. So we have seen these before, and we'll see them again. So we see the gavel. We see the gavel hitting the the on the bench, and it's all cracked, showing justice is not being served right here. Whatever's going on, there's a lot to unpack, showing the human brain is like the new medium for a video game, or it's being played like a video game. A lot of weapons, a lot of drones. This is how 2026 started off. It started off with drone warfare. It started off with a tanker war. You can't miss that. We are in a tanker war. This is what the image is of a tanker war. We have drones and satellites and rockets, and we got blue pills and red pills. I'm pretty sure if you look around here, there's black pills. But yes, you see, this is the symbol for the dollar. It's getting cracks. It's getting old. The symbol for the judiciary. It's cracked. It's no longer serving justice. Lot to unpack. This is a Persian vessel. Iran is who we are at war with. Here's the rockets. All this is before. This is all before these events erupted on February 28th. All of this was already drawn. 250th year of the United States. Right here. There's probably way more I'm not qualified to unpack. There's just so much. There's so much here. But the main thing I'm just trying to draw to your attention are these crossed blades and the fact that opposing each other on this financial chart, on opposite ends of the financial chart, is China. And I believe it's Putin. That's China and Trump right here with his old MAGA hat on. In between them are the crossed blades. We have seen the crossed blades before. We have seen these before. They're very prominent. It is the actual symbol. It's like the symbol for jihad. It is the symbol of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's found everywhere in their publications, on their flags, all over the place. So, off the jump, we have what is suspected by many a CIA-backed publication, The Economist. We have The Economist releasing predictive programming in the form of art. They do it every year, and they've been successful in the past. Maybe not every year, I don't know, but they've been successful in the ones I've showed. We have them here showing that China and the United States are in opposition, but what separates them is basically Islam, with a symbol for Islam. It is the Economist magazine cover. This right here is digital. This is online. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. That's a cell phone picture. 2026 started right here with tanker warfare. Pretty damn interesting. 2026. As I said 4 years ago, when I was revealing all the breaking of the seals videos, and I was showing you about Apollo Pharmakeia, or Pharmakeia, however you pronounce it, attacked the human family wearing white, doctors, pharmaceutical companies, with a snake poison, a toxon in Greek. The bow is called a toxon. The bow is the delivery mechanism. That's what a bow is. It is a delivery mechanism. It's not the weapon itself. The weapon is the arrow. So we have the fiery horseman of the second seal. And we have in 2026 at the dead middle of the second seal period, which is a 4-year period that began in 2024. It ends in 2028 with the beginning of the third seal. However, at the middle, you have 4-year Olympiads, and they are overlaid by 2 years by 4-year Pythian periods. It's Olympiad, 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 and Pythian, Pythian, and Pythian, but it's every 2 years. It's a different one that begins. Rotates. This is the system. It is following the breaking of the seals. Remember, this isn't some supernatural prophecy and all that. These people that pretty much run the world believe in a set series of prophetic events, and they believe that they have the playbook, and they're going by the playbook, and they believe that if they make these events occur, they can bring about their Messiah, and then they can rule the world, and all the goyim will be their slaves. This is their belief structure, and they're doing it. This is what are they going to be successful? I'm telling you, no. Absolutely not, because the Messiah they're going to end up getting is going to be an anti-Messiah, and he's going to wreck shop. And he's going to be the exact opposite of what they wanted. But this is the same people that have attempted this over and over and over and over and over, and they've always failed. They've always overreached. That's why I was telling my guest the other night before he just turned on me and went AWOL. You know, I'm not worried about their machinations. I'm not worried about all this dark stuff. Because this is what they've done over and over, and they've always been genius at what they do. But hubris and pride and overreach has also always been their downfall every single time. So let's see. It's the fire horse. Remember, the fire horse is a Chinese symbol. So we have pretty interesting times, and as the information I'm going to show you is going to be connected in some intriguing ways with China. I think that's it right there for that little file. It sure is. We're done with that. So the prophecies that they want to bring to come to pass is, using the Greek, we have decoded the first horseman, and we realize it was all about the pharmaceutical companies introducing snake venom into the human population for whatever reason. This was the true Greek interpretation of the first horseman, which completely different than the Judeo-Christian interpretation of that Greek text, the book of Revelation. So the second seal is broken, and the fiery horseman comes out, but even in Greek, it's different. It's very different than just a flaming horse. Also, it's not the rider doesn't have a great sword. In English, it says great sword, but that's not what it says in Greek. It is makiera or makira, and it is more like a dagger weapon. It's for close-in fighting, warfare or combat. So the more we put these things together, we find out that Apollonimeus, this is the third seal. This is the third horseman, the black one that comes in with the scales and is told specifically, see that thou dost not hurt the oil and the wine. It has a very different interpretation than what we are told. The material interpretations of Judeo-Christianity are basically what this Jewish control structure is trying to they're trying to bring it about. Trying to force these things. Like this year is going to be all manufactured apocalypse. All the stage is set. They've put all these migrants in play. They put all these people in foreign countries where they're not even wanted. And all it takes is one thing to set everything in motion. All it takes is for the international GMOs and organizations that are funding all this and that have given all these people debit cards and pay their bill and give them monthly money on those debit cards every single month. All it's going to take is one event, and that event is for George Soros and all his compatriots that are involved in this international scheme to just stop making payments to those millions of debit cards. What do you think is going to happen in the UK, in Australia, in all these Western nations, in Canada, 2-point-something million Indians now? I mean, this is all by design, but it has a purpose. But that purpose is not going to unfold until there's a stimulus. We're waiting for that event. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, talking to an ex-Muslim on my channel, I had theorized, the video's still up on my channel, but I had theorized that Israel was going to be involved in missile exchanges with a Muslim country, and they were going to purposely blow up the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, or I can't pronounce it, but they were going to blow up the Dome of the Rock, and they're going to blame that foreign country, and it was going to cause all kinds of pandemonium and hell and chaos. And even then, I was talking about the migrant groups were just sleeper cells waiting for this trigger. And so far, it hasn't happened. This is a prediction video from like 5 years ago, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. It doesn't mean it's never going to happen, because in order for these people to get what they want, they have to remove that mosque. It's on the Temple Mount. And there's only supposed to be one temple there, according to these people. And they're offended that mosque is there and they need it removed. So it's going to happen sooner or later. And when it does, it's going to start a domino effect. There's going to be anybody who even suspected of supporting Israel is going to be a target of these people. Yeah, it's going to take off. I don't know when. It could be this year. It could be. But I'm going to read the field. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to read the field, and you're going to read it with me, because I don't want you to think that I am promoting things that I am not promoting. I need you to see the screen as I see it. This is the way I like to do a lot of my videos when we're talking about topics that I could be misquoted on. So let me go and share my screen, and let's get to it. Wow, we got 1,600 people in the chat, and it's late at night. I may start doing some more late night videos. Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Especially for you guys. I know a lot of y'all love those calendrics. You love seeing those isometric projections. There's some good ones for tonight. All right, share my screen. Get into this. Here's my window. All right, let me change this. Let me change the parameters on this so you can see it as big as I can make it on the screen. So if I widen this out and I increase the size, let me know if that's acceptable to you guys. Do I need to make it a little bit bigger? Wow, man, I'm getting good at this. How is that? Is this good for you? Perfect. Thank you, Jeffrey Bailey. Yeah, man. Yeah, if you can see it with your 6'6" ass all the way up there, I'm sure everybody else can see it too. Clay's pigeon saying get it bigger. Man, I'm gonna try and get a little bit bigger for you. You must be on your cell phone. Or you messing with me. Yeah, that's as big as I'm gonna get it. All right. Good. So, the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. We're just going to go through the facts. We are going to disentangle the facts from the media bullshit and from all the social media bullshit of all these. You've been seeing all these missile attacks. You've been seeing all these AI videos of missiles coming down and destroying whole high-rise buildings. You've been seeing a bunch of bullshit. So, yeah, we're going to disentangle all that. We're going to go with strictly the facts. So Iran has launched missiles and drones into at least 9 Middle Eastern countries since February 28th, since the start of this U.S.-Israel-Iran war. These are primarily retaliatory strikes targeting U.S. military bases, energy infrastructure, Israel. Hundreds of ballistic missiles were launched in multiple barrages. A lot of these were cluster bombs. It's a new type of missile. It serves the same purpose as a cluster bomb. But Israel was hit multiple times. UAE, this is the United Arab Emirates, multiple waves of missiles and drones. Targets included the Al Dhafra Air Base and the Dubai area. So Bahrain was hit. Missiles and drones targeted the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters. Qatar was hit. Missiles struck the Ras Laffan industrial city, damaging facilities and reducing export capacity. Al Udeid Air Base. I don't know how to pronounce that. You guys know if it's right or wrong. Kuwait strikes on refineries. And Mina Al Almadi. I'm not going to pronounce all these. You can read them on the screen. Kuwait International Airport. Saudi Arabia, missiles and drones hit oil facilities. All right, Jordan, missiles and drones targeted U.S.-linked bases. Oman, least affected but confirmed drone strikes. Iraq, missiles struck the Kurdistan region. This is Erbil International Airport, U.S. Consulate, Harir Air Base. Beyond the Middle East, Iran fired long-range ballistic missiles at the U.S.-UK base on Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. They got some reach. So, that sounds real bad. This is a catalog of targets of Iran. It sounds really bad. The media made it sound even worse. Yeah, Iran missiles, destroying U.S. bases. And it is so childish, the distance between the fantasy and the facts about what has really transpired. There are no major military bases, airfields, or critical national infrastructure beyond the limited Haifa refinery hit that have been significantly destroyed. None. The Dimona nuclear site remains intact and operational. Damage is overwhelmingly to civilian housing and urban areas, with economic effects from temporary disruptions, like, for example, power and airport operations, rather than systemic collapse. No U.S. base was wiped out or rendered inoperable at all. The U.S. lost only 2 F-15E Strike Eagles, and a few drones were damaged or destroyed, and the metal roof of an airport hangar was destroyed. In this conflict, in this war involving 3 countries with a bunch of, these long-range missiles and these drone strikes, the United States lost 7 U.S. soldiers. 7 soldiers were killed in action. Now, the media is reporting 13 to 14 killed in action, and I get that. But when you break it down, you find out that 6 of them died in an aircraft accident. 6 men. They're still dead, and it's wartime. It is wartime, but Iran didn't kill them. 6 men died in an air crash of a US KC-135 refueling aircraft in western Iraq. So they can still have their 13 or 14, for the war, death toll, 13 or 14 men. But the truth of the matter is 7 of them were killed in an accident. So approximately 200 to 290 U.S. personnel have been wounded. That's going to be everything from needing a Band-Aid, having a scratch that heals in a few days, all the way to having broken arms, busted, maybe 3rd-degree burns, whatever. So it's going to be all different states. 200 to 290 people, U.S. personnel, have been wounded. The Israeli death toll for this war, this massive amount of missiles and cluster missiles that have all been raining down on Israel, the whole death toll is 24 people, and 22 of them were civilians. It is claimed that the Iranian death toll is in between 1,300 and 3,200 people killed. They're not sure, but they are sure that most of them are civilians. So this is a war. Remember, this is being promoted as a war, but in truth, Israeli airstrikes have killed way more than this. Yeah. Every single year, Israel's conducting airstrikes on its neighbors for whatever reasons, killing way more than all this. 9/11 killed 2,977 people in one day. 9/11. Whatever you want to believe happened on September 11th, 2001 is your business. But the fact remains, 2,977 people died during that event. So I'm just telling you, for all the hype and everything that's going on in the field and how it's being promoted across all mainstream, and you have all these pundits and all these pontificators in social media and doing all these interviews talking about this grand war, this is the result. almost less than 0.05% of the United States presence in the entire Middle East is even affected by anything Iran has done. Israel is only losing real estate that they were going to raze to the ground anyway, because they've got all kinds of new real estate development programs in their Greater Israel project. They were going to raise all these areas. It's almost as if Iran is only missiling areas that Israel has approved. Process that for a minute. So, yeah, things aren't adding up. How the media has handled this entire affair just doesn't add up. So Israel has attacked, Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. So Syria and Lebanon are the other way. They should have all their attention focused on Iran, but they keep sending jets back this way to go bomb these poor people. So Syria is interesting because in the past 2 years, the United States has been pulling out of Syria. Why? What did you know was about to happen that all of a sudden you need to get out of Syria? But this has been going on. There's been military withdrawals of troops and handing over bases in Syria, just getting out. Now, some of you may recall, because some of y'all have been diehard Archaix followers from the beginning. So you may recall my earlier predictions videos where I told you there's going to come an event in the future where the United States is going to become entangled in a military op that's going to get out of control, and then we're going to end up pulling back out and literally bringing our military back to North America and getting out of folks' business. You remember those predictions? I told you we were going to do something stupid, and we're going to end up, this is all in the calendrics, we're going to end up pulling back. And when we do, we're also going to start I even said this in those videos, quoting Condoleezza Rice, we're going to start pumping our own oil, all these oil wells that we've capped off because we knew that a crisis was going to happen in the future, and we're already prepared for it. We have laid the infrastructure to basically produce our own oil and refine our own oil, and we don't need any imports at all. We're almost there now. We'll get to that, though. A lot of people don't know the position the United States is in. We very quietly put ourselves in our position, but it's all public knowledge. So we'll get to it in a minute. So the Greater Israel Project means that Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and Iraq are all territorial within the confines of an area that Israel wants to claim for its own. This is very indicative of what's really going on, because the United States and Israel aren't just attacking Iran. Under all kinds of other pretexts, they're attacking all these neighbors as well. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has gone on in public record as saying that the whole entire Greater Israel objective is historic and spiritual mission of Israel. That right there is 100% the explanation for what's going on over there right now. Why Gaza was leveled. And then after they were finished with Gaza in 2020, late 2025, they wrapped up Gaza. All of a sudden they start a war with Iran, but Iran's missiles are only hitting areas in Israel that the Israelis couldn't level for legal reasons. They couldn't do it because Israelis live there. But they're older buildings, they're older areas, they're older neighborhoods, and want them removed. So all of a sudden, what happens? Missiles start raining down on them. Why didn't missiles from Iran hit Israeli military objectives? Why? We were told in the media they were destroying Israel. But we'll see here in a minute, not much in Israel's even been destroyed at all. So U.S. full-scale ground invasion of Iran is dumb. I say that all the time. You already know. What is my catchphrase? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So here I am in full agreement with Professor Zhang. It's dumb. But actually, there's been a lot of other people who have already talked about the ground invasion and why it's not viable, and it's just stupid. It would be the stupidest thing the U.S. military has ever done outside of Vietnam. So Professor Zhang is very correct in that assessment. So the terrain of Iran is worse than Afghanistan and conducive for guerrilla warfare and not at all suited for conventional armies. It is much greater in size than Iraq, and Iran has had decades to prepare. Underground networks, subterranean military installations. You already know, murder holes, tunnel systems. Yeah, it's all there. Yeah, and they've been there for thousands of years. These are the people. Remember, they fought Parthians. They have fought the Mongols. They have in the yeah, was it Khorasan? Yeah, the kingdom of Khorasan. Mongols almost decimated them. They weren't ready for that. They weren't ready for that horse and pony warfare. But and these people fought the Greeks, the Macedonians. These people are ancient. Very first war in the Old Testament. It was these people. Ancient Elam, later known as Persia. What did they do? Under King Chedorlaomer in Genesis chapter 14, they embarked on an expedition 400 years after the flood. The first thing that they wanted to do was eradicate all the giants. This is the very first war mentioned in the Bible. Don't take my word for it. Go read Genesis chapter 14 and Genesis chapter 15, and you will read the very first war in the Bible is Chedorlaomer and the Elamites, the ancient Persians, and they set out to go fight the Rephaims, the Anakims, the Zuzums, the Zamzumums, and the Emams, and they're all listed as races of giants living in cities. And this is the first war in the Bible. But it was these people. They're ancient. They are a warlike people. They're not going to be ousted easily. It's going to be 10 times worse than Afghanistan. It's going to be way worse than Vietnam. It's just not practical. It's dumb. Like I said in the title, it is dumb. And you're not fighting Afghanistan. You're actually fighting a country that has a lot of technology. Yeah, it's not like Afghanistan. So such an invasion would result in high casualties for the U.S. So I'm agreeing with Professor Zhang, whatever his name is, that it would be identical to the Vietnam War. On this connection to Vietnam, though, and by extension, China, we'll get to it in a bit because both Vietnam and China come up in the calendrics for this year. It's very interesting because they're not even on the radar publicly right now, but 2026 has a long way to go. So, concentrating on Iran would leave Taiwan more vulnerable to China. This is another big caveat here. It's China matter of fact, I don't have it in this presentation, but some of you know what I'm talking about. China just recently did a major naval operation. They literally surrounded the island of Taiwan with a very impressive naval demonstration. It's just bullying. It's just intimidation, forcing policy and shit like that. But it seems like when the United States flexes, so does China. Now remember, the cover of the Economist. United States is on one side, China's on the other. It shows an economic graph, economic warfare between them, but it's a proxy war with the Middle East, the crossed swords. The Middle East in the middle. That cover was drawn by somebody who was educated to know what the hell was about to be unleashed in 2026. So defeating the government, let's assume the United States won after a protracted war of attrition where we lost a lot of people. Finally, the United States wins. That's when the problems really begin. Yeah, there's no exit strategy here. Defeating the government of Iran, you got to replace it with another government that the people are going to accept. And such a proxy government is not available with Iran right now. They like their leaders. So occupying the country after defeating it would only result in guerrilla warfare attrition to the United States. There's no exit strategy here. You would lose a tremendous amount of wealth, resources, armaments, and people, and international clout and respect. You would lose it all invading Iran. To what? win a country that still doesn't want you there. Yeah, you still haven't secured all the underground domains, all the tunnels. A huge resistance builds up to you. Now, it's the whole history of occupational forces that the occupational forces are whittled down by attrition. You're too spread out. It's too big of a country. You're too spread out. You can't leave 1 million U.S. troops there. You got other business in the world. It's totally untenable. It's dumb. So, the United States status report for 2026. These are facts. These are facts, guys. I've been seeing, the reason I'm providing all this is because I've been seeing a lot of bullshit being posted by people who don't know what they're talking about. People talking about it's the doom of the United States. Oh no, man! With the Strait of Hormuz gone, the United States, man, it's gonna be critical. The United States is not producing oil like it used to. You don't know shit. All this is public information. What I'm about to show you right here, the United States is in a very strong position. Don't get me wrong. I love my country, but I love my country's population. I love the ideals of being a patriot. I love the revolutionary spirit. I love the people of the United States in whatever form they come. If they consider themselves American people, I'm on board with it. I do not like my government at all. I'm very vocal about it. I think they're slaves to the Jewish controlled power structure. I've never been quiet about it. So I do not like my government. I believe both Democrats and both Republicans serve the same masters. And those masters are pushing a forced manufactured apocalyptic agenda to bring about a bunch of BS. And the only thing I find humorous in all this, it sucks going through it. It sucks talking about it. It sucks when being around people, when they finally get the aha moment and they wake up how effed up this world, this predator versus prey world is. You know what? But in the end, it's all comical to me. I don't care how many Jews listening to me. I don't care. I actually got a few Jewish friends that are rather close to me, but still, it doesn't even matter. I don't care how many of them don't like me. When in the end, all this BS, all this Messiah crap, this feedback loop that they're on throughout history, it always fails every single time. So I'm not worried about it. It's comical. It's comical. We just got to go through the BS because they're the power structure. They did it. And right before, it's like the Charlie Brown deal. It's like the entire Jewish paradigm is a Charlie Brown cartoon. Yeah, they fall for it every time, and they finally get it. And they pay for the cartoon. They pay the directors. They pay the script writers. They pay the animators. They pay the network to get the cartoon out there for everybody to watch and engage in. And then right when their hero Charlie Brown makes it to the football, she pulls that football, and Charlie Brown looks stupid. He kicks at nothing and falls on their ass like the Jews do every single time. Every time throughout history, when they get to the top, they're kicked to the bottom because they do something stupid, and they always underestimate the people of the world. They do it every time. Yeah, you don't. I mean, what is it going to be? 1,010 times now? It's already been 1,009 times they've been kicked out of different countries. Is this going to be the 1,010th episode of Charlie Brown? I'm not worried about them. It's comical. I'm worried about us, those of us on the outside looking in that have to go through all this BS because we're not a member of the WEF. We're not on the Council of 300. We're not operatives. We haven't signed the contract. So we're the ones that have to suffer all through all this bullshit until the end when they finally turn on their CERN gate, and then it's not the Jesus they were expecting that comes through that damn portal and F's them off. And you know what? It's like God has a sense of humor every single time. I don't care if they're listening to me right now or not. Every single time, you people fuck up. Every time. I don't even care. So, United States status report for 2026. Just do it. Imports from the Middle East, Persian Gulf are minimal. Under 10% of the total U.S. crude imports in recent years even comes from the Middle East. United States, I remember I quoted Condoleezza Rice. Really shocked me when I heard what she said when she was interviewed, and somebody asked her about what happens in a future war when the Middle East decides not going to send us any oil. And she laughed it off. She says, "You have any idea how much oil is underneath us right now that we've been capping off since World War II? We've already been planning for that war." She says, "There's never going to be a time where we don't have the oil that we need and the infrastructure to produce it." Oh man, she was worried a bit. So, United States is pumping oil domestically at near record levels. This is right now. Around 13.6 to 13.7 million barrels a day. This is in the United States. And if you think that little incident in Houston, not far from me, I could drive there. I could be there in an hour and a half. But in Houston, at the oil refinery, is going to stop just because the Valero plant had an explosion. Didn't shut down the whole plant. But there's 30 to 31 fully operational oil refineries in the state of Texas alone. Yeah, I Googled that today. I had to make sure the numbers were right. So it's 30 to 31 operating oil refineries. That's not really going to knock a dent in anything. Take a whole lot more than that. And they're not, and Texas doesn't have the only oil refineries either. So anyway, United States has been pumping its own oil for a long time. It also has a significant capacity to increase production further if needed to help offset disruptions from the Middle East. The U.S. has been the world's top crude oil producer since the year 2018. There's a lot of things in the field that we're not privy to because we're not reading between the lines. We don't even have an interest. We want to see, we've been wanting to watch, The Walking Dead. We want to make sure we've watched all the Game of Thrones. I'm with you on that, guys. Believe me, I like to watch all the Star Wars movies, even the old fairy Star Wars movies. I still like Star Wars, even though they've messed up the whole franchise with all their liberal woke BS. I still like it though. So yeah, I still think the Stormtroopers are cool as shit. Darth Vader's outfit's cool. Sith Lord that had a soft spot for his son. That's so romantic. But you know what? We just miss all these details. But China hasn't missed these details. Yeah, we were not going to be affected by a Middle East shortage in oil. We made sure of that. And remember that's critical to understand because we caused what's going on in the Middle East right now, at least in tandem with Israel. Remember, we have to judge things by their effects, and the effects of this war do not impact the United States like you think, and the United States is being the aggressor. So the U.S. has been the world's top crude oil producer since 2018. Production hit all-time highs just last year in 2025. Isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that a coincidence that we just hit? Let me tell you something. I come from the oil and gas. I only spent 2.5 years working in it, but I worked for Splendora Pipe Services, and I worked all the way up. And then I started at the bottom at Vulcan facility in Tomball, and I worked all the way up to that too. And let me tell you, I'm going to tell you now, oil and gas produces so many jobs because there's so many ancillary products that are required just to produce perfectly thread pipe. There's so many other products that are needed in order to get the job done, and those products require companies. Those companies require employees. Those companies with employees require other materials. It's a domino effect. Oil and gas creates a badass economy. So what has the United States been planning for? Because it's not abnormal. I mean, it's kind of abnormal that all these things happen in tandem. So production for oil and gas production hit an all-time high just last year in 2025, right here in the United States. And it remains at that level right now, with forecasts for 2026 averaging 13.5 to 13.6 million barrels a day. So it kind of begs the question, is this long-term planning? Did the United States prepare for something domestically because it knew it was going to do something overseas? So higher worldwide prices make more drilling profitable. Existing drilled out but uncompleted wells can be brought back online in weeks. What do you think is going on all over America right now? Do you think all these oil and gas companies are just sitting on their asses waiting for some type of political approval? Hell no. They are all getting their ducks in a row right now because they see the writing on the wall. We have thousands of towns throughout Texas and the Southwest along the coasts that have literally been abandoned because during the oil boom days, like Burkburnett, Texas, outside of Wichita Falls, where I spent a lot of my childhood, bad oil rigs just everywhere, just left there, oil wells capped. Listen, all these towns can be refilled right back up. They can become oil boom towns again, just like the early turn of the century, from 1900 to World War II, when we were pumping all that oil out the ground. The oil doesn't go anywhere, guys. It's steadily coming out of the ground. Oil is everywhere, and we already have the infrastructure in place, and we have thousands of wells that were found, filled, capped. Yeah, the United States is in absolutely no danger of running out, which also begs the question, what has been prepared for? I don't believe in coincidence. So we have federal lands, the Gulf of Mexico, offshore, of course, everywhere offshore, and Alaska have untapped potential. Alaska is vast. It's vast. So U.S. imports only about, that's the about symbol. The U.S. imports only about 30 to 35% of its petroleum needs and is a net exporter of refined products. So losing Middle East supply would raise worldwide prices, but wouldn't create domestic shortages. The U.S. can easily replace any lost imports with domestic barrels or other Western Hemisphere sources. Within 6 months, the U.S. can easily replace the Middle East losses with domestic resources, also creating a significant boost to national economy by the end of 2026. Increased oil drilling, fracking, piping, all that does is boost the economy and create jobs because new companies they got to stand in the gap, and those new companies need smaller companies to support them with materials supply. It's a domino. It goes all the way down to the common man, and the economy is boosted. Oil and gas completely controls your economy. So let's go look at a status report. That's a status report for the United States. A status report on China is a little different. Let's see. So China, the world's largest crude importer, remember, they got 1.3 billion people. They are the world's largest crude importer. That means they rely on imported oil way more than the United States ever would. So the world's largest crude importer and a major buyer of discounted Iranian oil, accounting for about 80% of Iran's exports. That's massive. It faces risks of higher production costs for its manufacturing and export sector. Roughly 50 to 55% of China's crude comes from oil imports from the Middle East. China maintains strategic crude reserves and discounted Russian oil. China's petroleum reserve is not as extensive as that of the United States, which means it has less of a buffer to cushion against sudden supply disruptions. China will not see catastrophic net negatives unless problems with Iran persist for a much longer period. China has been actively diversifying its energy sources, including investing in renewable energy, natural gas, and pipeline imports from Central Asia. However, these efforts might not be enough to fully mitigate the impact of a severe oil shortage, which is beginning right now. There are countermeasures, and if the oil shortage worsens, China will be affected negatively, but will merely concentrate on alternative energy solutions. Now, the alternative energy solutions are all good for the civilian sector. They're not good for the military. Military needs that oil and gas. Of all Asian countries, China is best equipped to weather the storm. China is Iran's ally, but China will not commit troops to help if US invades on the ground. You can take that to the bank. If the United States decides to invade on the ground in Iran, China will support in any way that it can from a distance, but it's not going to intervene. It's going to do the same thing it did in the Vietnam War. It's going to funnel munitions, supplies, food, medical, and weapons, AK-47s, Kalashnikovs, or whatever, to the Iranian people. It's going to funnel all that just like it did the Viet Cong. So yeah, it did that too. That's the U.S. all found so many Chinese depots all throughout the Vietnam War. But that's how it would help in that deal. But it's not going to send troops on the ground. So nations impacted the most, or nations impacted the worst, by the Strait of Hormuz conflict. Here's where things get interesting and start to make sense about what's going on in the news, in the media. So India, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Pakistan, Nepal, Indonesia, Thailand. These are the countries that are going to be hurt the worst by the oil crisis. So also the fertilizer crisis, it's the same thing from the Gulf. So India is already experiencing inflation, and Asian countries will soon see supply chain hits to agriculture and exports. Tourism will decline, and localized shortages will appear everywhere. There is gas rationing already going on in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and restaurant closures in the Philippines. This is just the beginning. Other countries, regions affected by oil shortages: Europe, especially Poland, Lithuania, and Greece for crude oil. They'll be afflicted. Africa, Kenya, and Egypt. In Africa, it will be Kenya and Egypt affected the most. So who's the big winner? The United States is actually going to benefit from this because it's going to be a stronger, more internalized economy. Everybody else is going to suffer except one big winner. So interesting. Remember, I've got many videos in the past where I told you guys that it doesn't matter what the political theater says, what's going on in all the posturing, but whatever the United States and Russia are doing worldwide, they're doing it together. So, big winner in the oil crisis. Russia is quietly pocketing billions in extra oil money and enjoying loosened sanctions by the U.S. Why would the United States suddenly loosen the sanctions on Russia? Look at this. Russia's killing it on the oil exports now. Russia is already providing intelligence to help Iran target U.S. forces. Why would the United States loosen sanctions so that Russia can make more money when Russia's providing intel to the enemy, Iran, and the enemy, Iran, is targeting U.S. targets? See, it's easy. As I've told you guys before, Israel, Russia, Iran, the United States are all working together. This is smoke and mirrors. We have to judge things by their effects. What from the United States has really been destroyed? 2 jets and metal siding on a hangar and a few drones. That's all we've really lost in the United States when we left $8.8 billion in military hardware just sitting in Afghanistan. You think the war in Iran's done anything to the United States armaments? It's done nothing. Nothing at all. It's all smoke and mirrors. So if the United States invades Russia, I'm telling you now, Russia will not intervene with its own troops, even though it's Iran's greatest ally. It's not going to intervene. But the help will always come in the supply of munitions and weapons and food and medical supplies and intelligence, like they're doing right now. Right now. All working together. Let me see, my chat hasn't moved. Oh, yeah, it has. I just wasn't paying attention. All right, chat's going good. We got some really bad internet lately, guys. Really bad internet. Sometimes my screen freezes. All right. So Russia's the big winner. They're the ones making a killing. Yeah, they're making a killing off this crisis. All right. So for anybody new to my channel, I'm not gonna bore my Archaix veterans with this rehash. So I'm gonna keep it abbreviated as possible. In Archaix, we employ a method of calendrics that we call isometric projections because time-space is structured like architecture. It is the architecture of time. Events that are in the field have predictive value. And we've showed this in over 100 videos right here in Archaix. We go really deep on this in the Cypher community, which is a very private community attached to Archaix, but it's not Archaix. We also talk about this in the underground. But calendrics is very interesting. Isometric projections are very interesting. It is the analysis of time, space, and the events that unfold at very specific events in palindromic sequences. For example, we're going to take the year 1998 as an epicentral year. Events in 1998 are connected to 2026 only through a measurement of 2026 being 28 years from 1998. Because we live in a hollow field, as I've demonstrated so many different times and in so many different ways, one of the interesting structures of the hollow field is palindromes. And we have isolated some of these epicentral years. One of them is 1998. And 2026 is 28 years after 1998. So in the hollow field, there are events that will unfold in 2026 that parallel events that unfolded in 1970. 1970 is not a random year. It's 28 years before the isometric epicentral year of 1998, which it also has very interesting events that are connected to 1970. And events in 2026 are connected to events in 1998 as well. It is a structuring that I have showed hundreds of times on my channel. Well, we're going to look at just this example here. What we know of happening in late 2025 all the way through 2026 now, what's happening in the world now, and what we suspect is going to unfold in the next coming months. We are going to balance that with actual historical facts about the parallel holographic year of 1970. Here's what happened in 1970. You be the judge if any of that is remotely connected to events unfolding today. This is 1970. The U.S. reached peak domestic oil production. What? Isn't that happening in 2026 right now? The United States reached peak domestic oil production. This was a quiet but seismic shift because it meant the Western world could no longer produce enough oil to meet its own soaring demand. OPEC nations began to fill the gap. What we have here are events in 1970, 28 years before those same events took on new forms in 1998. 28 years later in 2026 is a full cycle. Things are coming to completion and a new cycle will begin. Pay attention. In 1970, the US reached peak domestic oil production, meaning they needed to go ahead and rely on foreign sources for some of its oil. 1970, the foreign source that the US decided could fill the want was OPEC, the Middle East. That's where the United States began to fill the dearth. So that was the beginning of the cycle. 1970 was the impending British withdrawal from the east of Suez. By 1970, the UK was in the final stages of pulling its military forces out of the Gulf. The UK, Great Britain, is 1970 is pulled out of the Gulf, creating a power vacuum for another authority to come in and start running things. This is 1970. Pay attention to how it parallels till today. 1970, under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Iranian military began a massive buildup of its navy and air force, specifically to become the new guardian of the Strait of Hormuz. Why? Because the British pulled out. A major flashpoint in 1970 was the dispute over 3 strategically located islands near the mouth of the strait: Abu Musa and the Greater and Lesser Tums. These islands sit directly on the shipping lanes used by oil tankers. As U.S. oil, this is 1970, as U.S. oil production peaked in 1970, the percentage of world oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz became a matter of national security for the West. The United States propped up Iran in 1970 to fill the gap that the UK left behind. The United States helped Iran take over the Strait of Hormuz, gave them the authority to do it in 1970. Rumors and diplomatic cables from 1970 show that Arab states were already discussing using the oil weapon, the threat of restricting flow through the strait, to pressure the U.S. regarding its support for Israel. This is 1970. What's happening today? 1970. Southern corn leaf blight wiped out about 15% of the entire U.S. corn crop. While it didn't cause a domestic famine, it caused prices to jump. Remember that, inflation. The U.S. and Canada passed laws like the Agricultural Act of 1970, which actually paid farmers not to grow grain to keep the prices high. This is 1970. The exact same things have just recently appeared in the media where governments are paying farmers not to grow anything. Even fining them and penalizing them for growing anything on their lands. 1970 marked the beginning of a multi-year global food crisis that eventually claimed roughly 2 million lives, mainly in third world countries. This is your manufactured famine. 1970 marked the beginning of a multi-year worldwide, I don't like the word global, worldwide food crisis that eventually claimed roughly 2 million lives, mainly in third world countries. 1970 postal strike. In the month of March, right now, over 200,000 U.S. Postal Service workers walked off the job in the first nationwide strike of public employees in U.S. history. Remember, these isometric projections have predictive value. What happened in 1970 is only going to be, it's either going to be the closure of a cycle or it's going to be a much greater event, magnified far beyond its antecedent, which would be the 1970 version. So if 1970 was the very first nationwide strike of public employees in all of the United States history, then that means sometime in 2026, there is going to be a massive strike, a walk-off or layoffs or something tantamount to this, but at greater magnitude in 2026. 1970, there were major power blackouts throughout 1970. Blackouts are on the table. People have been talking about this everywhere. So a few years ago, I had released some videos talking about that there's going to come a time when they're going to completely take down the internet. And I've even described in those 3 and 4-year-old predictions videos that when they take down the internet, what's going to be brought back up online is still the internet, but it's going to be upgraded and connected to more servers. It's going to have all its AI upgrades, and there's going to be hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of websites that are scrubbed, gone, completely deleted. When they're going to mask this as something else. The internet's going to go down. So it makes sense now. Back then I was thinking the whole worldwide internet would go out, but now this makes sense. It makes sense that they're only going to be doing rolling blackouts. This region for a while, then this region, and this one, as they bring more servers connected to the mainframe. Whole massive server farms that haven't actually been connected to the internet. They're new AI apparatuses all brought into the fold as in different areas of the world they take the internet down. They will also use it to control information. So there's a media blackout as well. So this was all in 2 and 3 and 4-year-old videos, but I believe we're entering that stage now. And like I said, there's going to be multiple different things unfolding, multiple different agendas unfolding at the same time. But it's not a Carrington style event where the whole world goes down. I don't believe that. I believe it's going to be like rolling outages. So the internet going out is only going to be, it's going to be masked as a power outage. So all the power will go out, everything will go out, and thus the internet. If they only took the internet down, but power was still going, that would be a problem. It's not much of an information control. There's still ways to communicate with the power on. So I see it as rolling blackouts, and it's during the blackouts that they'll upgrade the server farms with all their new AI integrations. So I'm just saying this is what 2026 is starting to look like to me. So 1970, there were major power blackouts. Also, 1970, the U.S. military was pulling out of Vietnam while simultaneously conducting operations in adjacent Asian countries like Cambodia, Laos, somewhere else. Maybe, was it Thailand? I'm not sure. But anyway, think about that. In 1970, the United States was pulling out of Vietnam while it was still attacking other countries in Asia. What's the United States doing now? We're participating in attacks against other Middle Eastern countries, but we're building a military presence. We're not removing ourselves from that theater right now, at least not yet. There is a chance. There is a chance that Iran can be our next Vietnam. There is a chance, and we're going to go through a little bit on that too. So Taiwan independence movements and domestic dissent occur in 1970. This is a broad new group that was advocating for Taiwanese independence, and it gained a lot of attention in this year. This is critical to understand. China just did a massive naval demonstration around the island of Taiwan. Very intimidating. Calling it just maneuvers or whatever, simulations and maneuvers. But In 1970, a large group within Taiwan, controlled by China at the time, rose up in 1970, pushing for Taiwanese independence from China in 1970. So in 2026, the very opposite of that could be true. There could be a complete takeover. I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. But right now we're talking about 1970 and as it applies to us today. So it is interesting. Taiwan and China keep coming up in the calendrics when I don't know why, because so far everything's been about the Middle East. So in 1970, the UK and Ireland erupted in violence in the Mangrove protest, which was a racial riot. It was black and white. Also, the Garden House riot, which was a culture clash riot between people of the UK and the local Greek population. Also, there was industrial strike, where pay and inflation became the subject of civil unrest. This is in the UK. Also, in Northern Ireland, 1970 was the worst year of the Troubles, the Irish violence in Northern Ireland. They were rioting for days. Also in 1970, the largest public protest in Australian history occurred. It was an anti-Vietnam War protest. But it doesn't matter what, here's Vietnam again, it comes up again, but still, it doesn't mean that it will be a Vietnam protest. It just means a tremendous amount of people in Australia rise up and protest something. This is 1970, and it is connected to 2026. The year of connection is 1998. So, in 1998, deep recessions and devalued currencies afflicted Thailand, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, South Korea. Stock market crashes, banking crisis, plunging investment, soaring private debt burdens, and deep recessions. Millions faced unemployment and poverty spikes, with bailouts aiding recovery only in late 1998. These are the same countries I just listed earlier as being those that are going to be the worst hit by the oil crisis in the Middle East. President Clinton ordered Operation Desert Fox, a 4-day bombing campaign against Iraq for non-compliance with UN weapons inspections. Remember the weapons of mass destruction that ended up never existing? Yeah, the only weapon of mass destruction was the Moab that we dropped on Iraq. It's the mother of all bombs. In 1998, House of Representatives impeached President Clinton on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice. So he wasn't impeached. He was impeached by the House of Representatives, but he wasn't. He still continued his presidency. So can we expect in 2026 impeachment hearings for President Trump? So having read the field, having looked at everything that actually happened as opposed to what the media has reported happening. Almost, it's a war, but the only things being destroyed are things that were slated to be destroyed in real estate developments and things that are of no utility to the military anyway. There's almost no death toll for this great war involving 3 countries. Almost no military armaments have been destroyed. It's ridiculous what's being called a war. So, having taken all that into consideration, going through everything that we saw on the field for 1970, which is connected to 2026 via 1998, having read 1998, here is the list of predictions for 2026. Predictions. Based off this data, 2026 looks like a period of elevated but manageable pressure on American households. A sharp spike in energy and shipping costs, but the U.S. economy's resilience, strong domestic oil production, diversified supply chains, and no systemic financial weaknesses points to a soft landing with higher prices rather than crisis-level disruption. A period to tighten the belt and refrain from excess spending on hobbies, vacations, amenities to use income wisely. Worldwide gas, natural gas, oil, and petroleum-based products will be inflated in price. 2026, shipping and postage will increase. A possible oil tax of a few $100s a year to those the government knows owns and operates vehicles. Struggling companies, small stores, and small franchises might not make it through this period. Food shortages and possible starvation in Eastern Hemisphere and Africa while food prices are inflated where they abound. Heightened increase in American drilling and oil and gas domestic operations will create jobs and positively impact the economy. This will create new companies, new manufacturing, as US-based operations are needed to fill supply of parts and resources. Both gold and silver will decrease in value. Remember last year, I told you on January 1st, 2025, I told you that through the year 2025, silver will increase, and it did. But I'm telling you now, through this year, both gold and silver will decrease in value. It was in March 2020 that the Western nations began the COVID lockdowns. 72 months later was February 2026, the start of the Israel-Iran war. New lockdown cycle to begin. 72 months seems to be one of their golden child numbers. Increased racial and cultural violence in the UK. In Australia, there will be mass protests. The US-Israel war against Iran will continue to make no logistical sense to those who do not realize that the real agenda is to destabilize and defeat all those Middle Eastern countries who unfortunately find their lands within the confines of the greater Israel perimeters. Just like the Vietnam War, the US will continue to help attack adjacent nations not stated in their public objective, which is Iran. Now, if the US commits to a ground invasion, then this will result in a military draft. It will also be a long, protracted war, and it will be for the purpose of doing exactly what it will accomplish: kill Americans. It would be for no other reason than to kill young men. Such a US invasion of Iran will cause civil unrest among Muslim migrant populations housed in Western European countries, the UK, Canada, the US. There is no reason for a ground invasion unless you are literally trying to break up more American families, kill more Americans. It is the problem I'm having with it is that in the calendrics for 1970, the United States was pulling its forces out of Vietnam. So 2026 could actually be the beginning of another Vietnam-style war, because that's how the calendrics works. It's either the end of the cycle or the beginning of another one that is very similar to the first. So it doesn't look good. First of all, the invasion won't be successful. Two, if it is conducted, it's going to be long and protracted. It's going to be just like Vietnam. There's no way to deviate from what you guys have already heard Professor Zhang say. He's already talked about that. He's already given the data on that. I'm not going to sit here and rehash it, but he's absolutely correct. What I'm adding to the table is that it has no purpose whatsoever but to kill people, because there's no objective taking Iran. There's no value to it whatsoever. It is. I can't imagine a single military think tank that would have ever concluded that it was a good idea. It's just stupid. It's so dumb. That's what I always say. It's so dumb. So in the gist of things, I have to remind you that you're still here. You went through 2020, 2021, 2022, 3, 4, 5, and now 2026. The majority of what we experience is psychological, and therefore it becomes it becomes a great part of our lives. But most of the suffering that we incur is digital. It's online. We put ourselves through it. Get on X, you go get on X and you start going through all the BS on X. And then 4 or 5 hours later, you got to get out of there. And then you're back in the real world and you're doing your things. Even World War II at its height, involving the deaths of millions of people, the rest of the world continued on just fine. People in Australia, South Africa, people all throughout sub-Saharan Africa, all over Europe. World War II was terrible, but there was thousands of communities all throughout Europe that never saw a day of the war. Most of North America was completely unaffected by the war. The closest thing to war in North America was Hawaii. Was the great psyop of Hawaii. Why am I calling it a psyop? Because the Australian intelligence network already told our president that there was a huge Japanese fleet on the way, and they suppressed that information because they wanted Hawaii to be attacked in order to justify the Pacific invasion of Japan. But all this is water under the bridge. What I'm saying is that 2026 is not going to be worse than 2021. Whatever you were doing in 2021, a lot of it we were entering the unknown. All this just hit us. We didn't quite realize, most of us, that in 2020 and in 2021 we were ruled by pedophile psychopaths. No one saw that coming. Some people that were super awake already knew all these things. The rest of us, even myself, you guys know, I'm a convicted felon. And it took me a lot to discharge my sentence. But when I did, I got my voting rights back. And the first thing I did is wagging my little old tail. I went and voted for Trump because I'm a conservative Republican, or at least I thought I was. I'm apolitical now. I can't stand either side, especially since the MAGA shit started and got involved. But I don't even care about politics anymore. I don't even care about the U.S. government no more at all. I just love the U.S. people. I love the American people. I consider them my brothers and sisters, along with the UK, along with Australia, along with Europeans. Everybody who considers themselves a part of the human family, I've got no problem with them. You ain't got to be white. That's just stupid. That's so dumb. But in 2020, we were shocked into becoming. We were shocked by the treatment we got from our own governments when the pharmaceutical companies were trying to pass something off as a lie. Yeah, we were all shocked, but that shock has worn off. We have become a community of people who are now awake to the fact that psychotic pedophiles run everything, and they all protect each other, and they use all our alphabet agencies to insulate that protection, to guarantee that protection. We all know this now. We also know that the world has become so prolific with understanding and awakening that the very guilty no longer hide from what they're guilty of. They no longer care to hide anymore because it's all out there. The nefariousness of the ruling elite has been publicized widely, and they just don't care. Why? Because they're the ruling elite. You can complain all you want to. I get a lot of criticism for saying this, but I'm going to continue to say it till the day I die, be that next week or 10 years from now or 2041. Doesn't matter. But we're not here to save the world. We never have been. And just like many famous philosophers have said, we are going to leave this world as wicked as we found it. We're sojourners and we're pilgrims, and we're here to pass through it. And you know what? You can do what I do and turn around and enjoy the ride. Yeah, I hate many of the things that I see going on around me, but you have to acknowledge you are only responsible for what you can possibly influence. If you can't do anything because it's happening on the other side of the world, don't effing be worried about it. Don't go to sleep worried about things that are far beyond your control. For thousands of years, the human condition has always been highly localized. Why? Because we didn't have a news media telling us what was going on, the problems of everybody else. We had our own problems. Sufficient for the day were the problems thereof. It's a biblical verse. Everybody dealt with whatever issues that could be brought into their own field. But we're always borrowing trouble, worrying about what's going on in somebody else's neck of the woods when it's not your business. I find it interesting to know. It's an intellectual exercise. I like to compare these things in my historical analyses to see if they have predictive value. They often do. But I'm not going to lose sleep over what's going on anywhere in the world outside of Willis, Texas, because that's where I'm at. And this is what's going on outside of Willis, Texas. It's an alien world out there. If people from that alien world come into contact with me, then I'm always going to be civil. I'm gonna treat them as a brother and sister. I'm gonna bring them into the fold for however long we're in contact. And when they're gone, they're back again. They're back again in an alien part of the world. They're not in my field. There's nothing I can worry about but what I can directly influence. That's all I will ever be responsible for, and by extension, you as well. So my message in this video is not a dark one. It's that 2026 might be a bumpy ride, but we're going to be just fine. We're going to be all right. We're going to be here for 2027 and 2028, and you're going to be listening to Archaix videos, and we're going to grow together. We're going to laugh together, and you're going to hear a bunch of dumb shit fall out of my mouth every once in a while, and I'm cool with that too. So I will show you this. The rolling blackouts concern me in one thing. You know, years ago I started years ago when I was first worried about it. Remember, I did like 3 videos talking about internet going down and all that. And I was really worried about it. So I started putting all this information on all these thumb drives, like Chronicon. This is my 1,055 page book on the history of the world, showing all the patterns going forward and backward in time, and 400 and something chronological charts. And then I got my Archaix library. I sold that for a while. And I told you guys, hey guys, if you guys want like 50,000 PDFs of old books, more books than you'll ever be able to read in your life, you might want a copy of this. Just buy one and just throw it around. Just throw it into a box somewhere, because you might need it in the future. You're going to be really bored if the internet goes down. So then I come up with an old photos drive. I put a whole bunch of, there's like 35,000 pictures out of old books on this drive. Then I had two different drives called a super pack and a survival pack. Then I ended up getting a drive that held more gigabytes, and I combined them. That's the super pack and survival pack. It has all my published books, all my unpublished books, all 400 and something of my articles, video transcripts, thousands of charts and images and PDFs of books. It's got everything on that. So anyway, what I'm saying is when I was in the underground earlier, I asked them, if y'all are worried about the rolling blackouts and you want some Archaix related material, I went ahead and took a picture of this. My email is archaix138@gmail.com. It's just archaix138@gmail. Would one of my moderators put that in the description box? But for my Archaix Underground, I'm going to extend that to you too. From Archaix Underground, I went ahead and said, you know what? We're in emergency time now. Since we're in emergency time now, you know what? If you guys, whoever just wants to make sure that they've got more than they can do in their entire lifetime, all these 5 drives here, I'm just going to knock them all down to half price and just send me how much the postage and handling is, and I'll mail you all 5 drives in a little envelope. So instead of selling them individually, I'm gonna sell them as a pack and just knock the price down all the way. I might even knock it down more than 50%, because one of those is kind of expensive. No, there's no Archaix Academy in there. I got Archaix Academy right here. This is the expensive one, Archaix Academy. But you can order Academy separate. That's or I can include it. I don't know. If you're interested and you want to make sure that you're all set, then just hit me up on an email and we'll work something out. I work people in other countries. I work things out with them. It's every country is different. Shipping is different for every country. Even within the United States, it's kind of different. But I'm just saying, if you we've already had blackouts in Texas many times. It's always in the hottest part of the summer, and it's always in the coldest part of the winter that we get our blackouts. It irritates the shit out of me living on a generator. And Texas exports energy. Texas has its own energy grid, and we export energy to other states. But when they do it, they reach out here into the country. They don't do it to the cities, but way out here in the country, they turn all our power off and then reroute it to another state. They do it every winter and every summer. But anyway, that's my predictions video. It's like the third predictions video I've done for 2026. But I wanted to get all that out because I'm seeing a lot of bullshit on social media. You know, people don't know what they're talking about. It's like talking about, oh, the United States economy is about to collapse. No, we're actually in a very strong position right now. Talking about what's going on. So you just need to know the facts. You need to know which countries are being really hurt, and they're almost all in Asia. There's a few of them in Europe, but it's bad. It's bad what's going on, and it's going to get worse. But it's all by design. Remember, it's a manufactured apocalypse. Remember, the first seal, the second seal, third seal, fourth seal, and all this is manufactured, and it was specifically started in 2020 for a reason. The reason it was started, and this is what many of you new to my channel do not have a clue what we're talking about. But there is an event that is going to occur in the middle of the month of May in the year 2040. And every one of these events that we're discussing in Archaix is done by design and choreographed to fit on a timeline that makes and turns that event in 2040 into the biblical breaking of the sixth seal. These people are operating out of a playbook. And the portion of the playbook that you have access to is called the Book of Revelations. But they're the ones making these things come to pass. This isn't divine. There's nothing divine about it. It's actually deviant, what these people are trying to accomplish. But they already know about the Phoenix phenomenon. They know it happens like clockwork. They know it's going to happen in the middle of the month of May in 2040. This has been the subject matter of my research long before I was on YouTube. I had several books published about this long before I started a YouTube channel. And Archaix veterans know what I'm talking about. I've got an entire playlist just about the Phoenix phenomenon. And these events are choreographed by these people who already know this event's coming, and they want to make it look like that this event is doing something else. And the way they're going to do it is groom the world into thinking that they're in the apocalypse when they're not. This is what's going on. I go into a lot of detail in many of my presentations about the scheme. It's sick, it's stupid, but I'm telling you, they want to bring about, you know, the appearance of their Messiah, and it's all according to plan. But what I'm telling you is 2026 is not World War III. We're not all going to die. And what you're hearing on social media and all this shit is a bunch of hyperinflated BS. The actual war between Iran, Iraq, and the United States hasn't really resulted in anything, especially a death toll of any significance whatsoever. It is all political posturing, and the media is playing ball by blowing things way out of proportion, like they always do. How do we say it? It's so dumb. Yeah, man, so dumb. So Archaix138@gmail.com if you're really interested in that. Other than that, this is just a puppet show apocalypse, guys, and I love you.
Another day in suburbia, same old script on the TV screen. Do you ever feel like you're just a walk-on in somebody else's dream? Hey! Wake up in the morning to the alarm clock live, billboards preaching gospel from the suits up high, chemtrails in the sky like graffiti from hell, while the radio's pumping out the stories they sell. Daddy's little war on the evening news, kids on pills cause the system's got the blues, living in a puppet show, strings tied to the bank, another generation sinking in the tank, warning signs flashing but nobody reads, plugged into the feed while the whole world bleeds. The world's a stage and we're the clowns, conspiracy cities burning it down, Illuminati bastards hiding in the crowd, pulling all the strings while we scream out loud, another cog in the machine gone rogue, middle finger to the kings on their golden throne. The world's a stage, yeah, we know the deal. Time to smash the set and make it real. Flat earth tattoos on the trailer parkings, aliens on the payroll pulling everything, chipped up like cattle in the checkout line, false flag fireworks every single time, suburban rebellion in a cul-de-sac rage, mom and dad asleep on the American stage, echo in the mall where the zombies shop. Wake up, make this bullshit stop. Red alert sirens in the Illuminati